talking about what happens when you mess up, which is really a great conversation that we just had about messing up. So that's a really good segue. So mistakes do happen. You're going to do your diligence. That's what we're actually trying to make sure we do it here. And there's no guarantees in real estate. There's no guarantees in life. All we're trying to do is our best work. We're trying to show that we did our best efforts to mitigate any problems. And so we want to go through the proper protocols, protect yourself so if something does come up, you can say, it wasn't that I didn't do it. We did it, we tried, we just maybe didn't find that. It was maybe not as good. And those start to fall into some categories that we're going to talk about now, which is willful versus negligent. And we've alluded to this a little bit, right? Whether you did something on purpose or whether you neglected to do something. So as brokers, we've talked about this material fact discovery and disclosure and all these things that are a burden to brokers to find and tell people. We have a lot of research that we have to do, whether you're a listing agent or a buyer agent. We have things about CMAs, what should we list it for? Are there any deed restrictions? Are there any public restrictions? Are there any assessments? Where's the survey? What's the home inspection look like? Do we have environmental issues? I could go on and on and on, right? So obviously nobody's perfect. You might miss things, okay? The question is, why did you miss it? Did you miss it because you did it on purpose? Like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. Just not gonna do it. Or negligent, meaning you tried and just didn't do as good a job as maybe you could have. So really it's gonna come down to your intent. Willful, for the purpose of our conversation, is on purpose. So we're going to talk about combinations of words here in just a minute, but first and foremost, willful, on purpose. Negligent is by mistake or carelessness. You were just careless in your practice and maybe didn't do it as well as you could have. So either by mistake or carelessness. Now, misrepresentation versus omission. A misrepresentation is you said it wrong. You said something and you said it wrong. Yeah, that's the mow line. That's clearly where they're mowing there. That's the property line right there. And it's not, because you didn't get a survey. So you misrepresented what that looks like. Brokers are often found guilty of misrepresenting properties in their marketing, where there are cases where, oh, this is the great cabin in the woods, and you get there and it's a tobacco barn that's fallen in. Right? That's a little bit of a misrepresentation. You as a buyer were thinking you're going to get a log cabin in the woods, and you get there and it's a tobacco barn with a dirt floor.
The woods are in the garden.
Yeah, the woods are growing out of the house. So that's a misrepresentation. Or omission, meaning you should have said something and you didn't. You kept your mouth shut when maybe you should have told the truth or said something, right? Disclosed something. And so these things tend to happen a lot, mostly born of accident. I will say very few times is it, I would like to think at least, very few times is it on purpose. Because by the way, if I combine the last slide and I said you had a willful misrepresentation, what does that mean?
You should be out of business.
Yeah, you lied on purpose, right? That's another way a fancy way of saying you lied. You misrepresented it. You told someone wrong willfully. You told them wrong on purpose, i.e. you lied. So that is definitely something the commission is going to be concerned about. What if in the same situation I said you had a willful omission? So you willfully, on purpose, did what?
Left something out.
Didn't say something, right? Maybe you were supposed to tell them about the chicken plant next door or the smell, and you just willfully didn't, right? So, by the way, you see that the same question could be either way. So, is there a chicken plant next door? No. What did I just do? Willful misrepresentation. Is there a chicken plant next door? Look at that garden. That is beautiful. Look at those tomatoes. See the difference? Willful versus, and you can combine negligent as well, right? So what if it's a negligent misrepresentation? Yeah, this is in the Reagan School District. I didn't confirm it. I thought it was, but I was careless in my practice. I may not have confirmed what school district it was in because it's the summertime and they redrew the districting lines. Right? So that was a little bit negligent on my part. Negligent omission. I'm trying to think of a good one. Exactly, negligent omission.
Not telling them about the crackle of lead paint you saw somewhere.
Yeah, maybe just omitting to say something, because again, something like a disclosure you should know, and neglecting to mention that thing, that could be a good example of that. So you just have to kind of understand the definitions of the words respectively. You will be asked. This is a scenario. What was it? Was this a willful misrepresentation? Was this a willful omission? What was this scenario? So you need to understand those concepts and be able to apply those. So what is not a material fact? So we've talked about a lot of stuff that is a material fact. It's easier probably to start with what is not a material fact, because most everything else is. There's fewer of them. So the reason I have these slides up here, these topics, is because these are, one, most commonly asked and most commonly confused. And so we're going to start with the death that somebody died in the house. That is not a material fact. By the way, if we had to tell everybody someone died in a house, we would say in pretty much every house. Because someone has died in almost every house somewhere along the way, unless it's new construction, because they've been around for years. So it's likely someone passed in it. So that is not something we would disclose. Murder, believe it or not, is also another one. Now that is not to say that it would not become public, right? If you were around a few years ago, there was that mass murder in Clemens, right? And they buried all the people in the backyard. That house has since, actually I think they tore it down.
One in
But
Davidson County too, that was on Dateline or something, 2020 or whatever.
yep, and they might become famous houses. Not our problem. We don't have to tell people. That may be good for marketing, may be bad. We're not going to get into that. It's just a house. Do you have a question?
Oh yeah, so you say you're not supposed, like you're.
These are not. You would not tell people these things.
Okay, but you
Not
could if
required.
you wanted
You
to.
could,
I think if you
right,
felt bad
right.
or something.
So
about
material fact is I must tell you, right? Facts that I must disclose to potential buyers. These are things you would not have to. Now, I will
Yeah.
comment on that because that leads me up to our next comment over here, which is the AIDS and HIV. This is the one you would not tell anyone, because AIDS and HIV is considered a handicap and it's a protected class. So if you should tell someone, hey, someone died here from AIDS or HIV, you would be in violation of federal fair housing, because that's a protected class. You could not say that. So you could tell them, hey, somebody died here. It's not that you have to, it's not a requirement. Yeah.
Doesn't that become a health concern though? I mean, wouldn't that be the same thing as lead-based paint if it was all over the carpet?
Well, if I really, so I'm a biologist. So technically speaking, unless there's some sort of non-air, because HIV and AIDS is not airborne. Once it's exposed to air, it dies.
Bodily fluid of some kind.
But some sort of bodily
fluids.
fluids. Yeah, I mean, if you picked up somebody's needle and stabbed yourself with it, maybe. So from a safety hazard, it would not be something we could disclose. Whether it is or not, maybe it's still debatable, but we could not ever say that because it would be a violation. I mean, hopefully at some point, or
Buyer beware.
the sellers being diligent, they would. And again, buyer beware. You know, I don't know about y'all. I moved like 21 times in 35 years. We moved a lot. No matter how clean the house was, my mama cleaned it before we moved in.
Again.
Every time. Again, like, I'm like, it's clean, Mom. She's like, no, not clean. And so she would always clean. So you have to hope that the buyer does exercise some level of diligence and protecting. We did find things that you're like, oh, I'm glad we cleaned it. There are times where we found, you know, things in vents, needles in vents, drugs in vents. People hide stuff. People die, and then you don't know they've hidden
Money.
stuff.
They're finding
Money. Yeah, we've had money. We found a guy found some guns. We had an attic full of marijuana where they were drying it. So
Wow.
and that's why it really is.
Foreclosure?
No, it wasn't. I think it was in the state though. But it was one of those where you just have to. It is a buyer beware state. It's a caveat emptor. And from our side, we just could not disclose that because it is a protected class. Haunted house, you'll hear that one. There's a lot of fun advertisements that go along during, especially around Halloween. You know, this house is not haunted, right? It's just marketing. You can say that. No zombie proof. You could say that. And honestly, let's think about this. Even if that is a misrepresentation, are we really going to be around to talk about that? So zombie proof, some fun marketing. And then registered sex offenders. We get this one a lot. This is actually a really hot topic that your buyers will hit you up on. This is a big concern to me. I have children, blah, blah, blah. We don't get to talk about this. This is not something we get to discuss. We can defer them and say, hey, do your own research. There's a registered sex offender website. You can look it up. You can put in your address. You can see how far away they are. I would caution you because it's scary. They're everywhere. It looks like somebody shot them. Like a shot, not them, but shot them out. Like, it looks like a shotgun because there's dots everywhere. But that's their prerogative. That's the buyer's opportunity to do their own homework. This is not us. This is not us. This is not us. We do not have to say any of this. You cannot say these two. Does that make a big difference? You see the
Oh,
difference?
you're restricted from even
Correct.
saying that there's a sex offender next
Yeah,
door.
it's gonna be,
The
it's gonna
others you
become a
don't
real
have to, but you
liability.
can.
Huh.
Because the moment you say there is or there's not, then are we being negligent? Are we right? Have we verified it? Have we door knocked? Have we talked to them? What's the case? So this is a liability. So I would always do it clear. And you will get that question. You have a lot. You'll get it about crime statistics. Hey, is this a safe area? Do your own research. You've got to be real careful because our goal is to show them the property. Their goal is to determine whether that house and area works for them. We have to always be focused on the property, not the people. Even in our marketing, that's enough. We'll get into fair housing and later in the chapter and later in the books, but that's one thing where brokers are typically most guilty. We want to be aggressive in our marketing. We want to be creative. We're like, oh, this house is going to be awesome. Bring your family and come on down. Except for that familial status is a protected class. So you have to be careful. See what I did there? I was describing the property. This is a big house. It's great for a family. Why don't we just stop with it's a big house? Always describe the property. Can I say this house has a playground? Your kids will love it.
No.
I can't because I'm targeting children. Could I say this house has a playground?
Yeah.
See what I'm doing? Describing the property, not the buyer. And so anytime we're in our practice, stick with the property, stick with the facts of the property, and you'll probably be okay. So it's you start getting into target marketing and people, describing people, or saying what you want, because you are not in this equation in any way, shape, or form. Would you live here? Is this a safe area to you? Would you buy this house? This is not about me. This is your house and your purchase.
When you say not targeted, I mean, I've seen before, maybe this is like a different,
You've probably
Idea.
seen a lot of violations. I do every
well,
day.
I mean, I've seen like in-law suite or an in-law.
So there's some, and actually on page 525 of your book, your textbook, there's a graph that says some of the things you can say and some of the things you can't say. And we'll get to that when we get later in the book, but it is it's governed by HUD. And HUD basically is the one that preaches the Fair Housing Act, and they govern it, and they also regulate it. So if there are violations of the Fair Housing Act, HUD is the one that's going to intervene and investigate. So they have put forth some marketing that says, hey, you can say this, you can't say this.
Okay.
And there's a nice little graph on page 525. I think it's 525, it might be 575.
So it's just wording.
Mm-hmm.
Will
Yep.
we end up with a little checklist of what we need to visually review before we sell a house?
So hopefully, and the intention is because of the provisional broker program, as becoming a provisional broker, you will be under the supervision of a BIC, and the idea is that they will review all your marketing to make sure that you're describing the property and not the people, not using trigger words, and some MLSs actually will scrub your remarks for trigger words and be like, might want to change that. Yes, sir.
So two things. Number one, it seems, what is your personal opinion on that? I mean, you guys have a buyer beware state, right? Where you have to be aware of all of these things, but you're not allowed to market it to a specific person. That seems contradictory to me. And then vice versa, let's say like, I have a park across the street. I could use that and say kind of, okay, it's right across the street from a park, hinting at the fact that it's good at kids, but that almost seems like a violation as well.
No, you're right. And actually, to answer both your questions, can I target market to investors? Sure, you're not a protected class. See the difference? And we'll talk about it when we get to the fair housing section. There are 7 protected classes, and those are the ones, familial status being one of them, and really indicative of children. And when I speak of familial status, the other concept is, can I say there's a park right across the road? Yes, it's a fact about the property. Could I possibly be perceived as alluding to? Maybe. That's why if you stick to the facts of it, though, you're usually okay. So there are some gray areas you can live in there. I just always preach the property, not the people, and you'll usually be safe.
No, more than just kids use parks, so
Yeah.
it's
True.
safe.
Very
Yeah.
true. I love a good seesaw. That's fun. That is so fun. We did that at a park a couple weeks ago. It was fun. I'm like, I'm putting one of these in my house. It is so not safe. I can't believe they still put them in. I'm like,
In his house,
yeah.
not outside.
I'm pretty sure my child went like 20 feet. But yeah, it's fun. I don't know why I would do that. I would buy a park. So agents' duties to principal under their license law. Who's your principal again?
The client.
These are your clients. This is with whom you have an agency agreement. So first of all, avoid any willful or negligent misrepresentations. Do your best. Don't engage in these things. Do your homework. Avoid making false promises. What's the best script in real estate?
Depends.
It depends. It's okay. Second best script in real estate. I don't know, but I'll find out. So that way you're going to avoid number 1 and number 2 really quickly. Because if you don't say something that you don't know for sure, that's going to be helpful. Number 3, avoid any undisclosed conflicts of interest. What do I mean by that? Undisclosed conflict of interest.
That's like your
Yeah, that's my house, right? If I have an ownership interest in the property that I'm selling, is that something I need to disclose? Say yes. Yes. So I need to always make my position aware to the consumer, and do I have an interest in this? If so, I need to disclose it. So avoid those undisclosed conflicts. Or maybe I have an offer to purchase. Maybe I am looking to invest in the same property that you are looking to invest in. Is that a conflict of interest?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you gotta be real careful with that. And then account for trust funds. Where are we gonna see trust funds at? States, escrows, give me some examples of trust money. What money goes into a trust? Earnest money? And we haven't taught property management yet, but pretty much all property management money goes into a trust account. HOAs have their own trust accounts as well. So we'll talk more about the property management side of trust accounts in that section. We hit that pretty hard, because trust accounts obviously pretty scary, because you can have 75 hours of pre-license and be entrusted with hundreds of thousands of dollars of trust money. Yeah. The only other place I know you can do that's an HOA secretary.
An attorney in Charlotte almost lost his license for $28. Literally got in the wrong account and went years, and he self-disclosed, and they raped him because maybe they didn't like him for other reasons, but
Could be that.
they made a point of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's serious stuff.
Trust accounts are highly regulated in North Carolina because they are other people's money. They're meant to be safeguarded. If they're not safe, we're undermining the premise of a trust account. So trust accounts are very much protected and guarded. 6, avoid improper conduct and be honest in dealings with principal as well as third parties. What do we owe these third parties?
Reasonable
Honesty,
Fairness.
fairness, and disclosure. So
Right.
all parties get honesty, fairness, and disclosure. So we want to make sure we treat them as such and avoid any kind of improper conduct. And I shouldn't have to say, but be honest. You can't lie. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, she's on the, what about when we're representing relatives?
Ooh,
Like my, as a
God bless your heart.
Don't.
Friends. She said, what about representing relatives? And usually family and friends are always scary. There's nothing wrong with it, and those will actually be your primary clients likely as you're getting started, your family and your friends, your sphere of influence. There's no problem with that. I think it's just always best if you have that situation, like if you're helping a parent or a family member, immediate family member, just tell the other side of it. Hey, I'm helping, this is for my father, this is for my cousin, this is whatever. That way, did it hurt anything? No, you're still, it's not like you're gonna, I'm gonna give you a worse price because that's your dad. You know, so. But anytime you're helping somebody, now friends, not so much, but family members immediately, yeah, just tell them, it won't hurt anything. Especially on the list side, more so than the buy side. Yeah.
Like, this is like, if you're from like the area that you might be selling in, and you actually do have like factual knowledge, or like you might even know some of the people in the neighborhood, can you use that, or you shouldn't use that?
If you have factual knowledge,
Real
knowledge,
yeah.
and it is not something that you would be in violation of by disclosing, like it's something illegal to disclose, like the HIV or something like that, you should disclose it.
Like somebody like a Howard people, or like, I know Miss Johnson, she's been there for 30 years, she goes to my church. Can I say that?
I see where you're going.
Can you say that? You can't say that.
What you just said, you could. Hey, I know Miss Johnson, she lives right there. I can say that.
Could you say Miss Johnson's lived here for 30 years?
Now,
and
could I
she
be
loves
like,
this neighborhood?
Yeah, well, I could possibly say Miss Johnson loves this neighborhood. Now, could I say, hey, Miss Johnson and her 3 kids live there? Whoops.
Okay.
Yeah, see, so you just gotta be a little careful. You just gotta be cautious. And it's unfortunate, but we just have to be a little more cognitive with the words that come out of our mouth.
What if they ask you, like, well,
Yeah.
you say, I mean, Miss
And-
Johnson lives there, and they go, well, does she have any children?
So this is a great question.
you're on the
I just
line.
said we have to be honest. Now, what we cannot do is lie. So if Miss Johnson has 3 kids, I can't be like, nah, she ain't got none. You don't like kids, remember? I can't lie about it.
Right.
What I may not be able to do is say, yeah, oh yeah, she's got kids. I may be able to say, that's Miss Johnson. Why don't you go knock on the door and talk to her and get to know your neighbors if you like it. So I may just not say. That's actually where it's okay to omit some things, because by saying it would be in violation.
Right.
Now I think we're probably in a really gray area with the weed
still
sears, but
comes
I don't
up.
think that's going to become a true issue. But you're right, it could come up, and we get the types of questions similar to that, but usually more. A lot of times they're more malicious in intent. Would you live here? What kind of people live here? Are there kids in the neighborhood? By the way, we can't even tell people to, and I used to do this until HUD told me I couldn't. come by at 3 o'clock when the school bus runs if you're interested to know about kids in the neighborhood. Because I was like, oh, that's a good way to say that. That's not a good way to say that, apparently. At least that's what HUD says. So and again, some of these things we have to defer to the buyer to do their own research. We are here to represent the property and the facts about the property, not the people around it, not the people that live near it, not the people that are in it, not the probable buyer. So when you start dealing with what kind of people, examine the people, examine the crime, examine those are people issues. We're property people. We live in the property world. The buyers can do their own homework with people.
And you are talking about other effects of the property too, like the chicken farm example, but it's not about the people.
Right, now, and the chicken farm is about the property. It's a material fact, right? So yeah, you can be more specific about that. Yeah.
I don't know if this is off topic, but the principal, so you said that's your client, because I was a little confused when I was reading on that, and I didn't know the difference between the client and the customer. When I know the client, that'd be your client, that's like, you're my real estate agent.
Yeah, so you can liken principal and client are going to be the same thing.
Okay, and then a customer is just like a third party. I
Right,
guess.
the customer is somebody you could help, but you don't have an agency agreement with them. So you don't actually work for them. You could help them. You do not work for them.
You owe your client a lot more than your customer.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have a fiduciary relationship with a client principal. You do not have a fiduciary
Old car.
with customers.
Okay.
Yeah, that old car.
Yeah.
7, deliver all offers and contracts. We are in North Carolina. We present all offers. In no specific order. Disclose any commissions, referral fees, and kickbacks similar to payments from third parties. So again, if you are going to receive any additional compensation above what you have dictated in your agency agreement, you have to disclose those. Go ahead, kickback guy.
I was gonna say, you said you couldn't use kickback, now I'm confused.
So if you are going to receive, and kickback is a generic term, and it's typically,
Not the rest of Section 8 violation kickback.
yeah, it's not a
It says
RESPA
the
violation.
bank.
And so
Bad word.
kickback is notorious for being has a negative connotation. It's bad. Sometimes it's something as simple, and actually, they've gotten better about. We don't like if you say kickback, like, oh, it's bad. Sometimes it's acceptable, and the way the home warranty companies, a lot of them have kind of worked around the RESPA violations, which we'll also get into a whole conversation about RESPA, is that in a real estate settlement procedure, if I am receiving a $50 fee for marketing a home warranty to my clients, and they sign up for said home warranty and they give me a $50 fee for marketing it, that is considered a kickback, so to speak. As long as I have disclosed it and everyone is okay, it's probably legal.
Okay.
Now, if I am, those numbers get bigger, and then it's starting to get into RESPA violations.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that as we progress. There's a big difference between nominal, hey, I'm going to give you a $50 bottle of wine versus, hey, here's $500 for sending me a tenant. And so those things start to really get into whether we're in violation or not.
Gotcha.
So, yes, sir.
Back to the order, I thought I heard you say in
did.
no particular order.
In no particular
I thought
order.
it was the opposite. I thought you had to deliver them in the order that you received them.
No, that's a great question, a great point of clarity. So in North Carolina, with a multiple offer situation, we present all offers either at the same time or in no particular order. I would not say, we got 3 offers, but this is the only one you need to look at. You can have these other 2, but this is the good one.
Right.
So that's why you got to be
But
cautious.
you can show them the really good ones first.
Yeah, I mean, I would not.
I mean, it sounds like that anyway.
Yeah, and actually, you're going to talk about them all, so you can talk about them and go through them best to worst, less.
Yeah, but I might get hungry and go have a steak first and let them really think about that good one first.
Yeah, and so and to properly address the question, it is you present all offers, because what happens is you do not want to be. By the way, if I only present the first offer or the best offer first, who says it's the best offer?
Yeah, sure.
I did. See what I did? I made a decision. See what I'm not allowed to do? Make decisions. Because the best offer to me may not be the best offer to you.
Right.
So we present all the offers and let the clients decide what's the best offer to them. It might be less price, close quicker. It might be more price, take longer.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because you're not looking only at the dollars. It's the whole situation, because they're going to include those time frames.
You got it. And that's why, and usually what I do, and we don't do it in this class, we'll do it in post-license. I will do a spreadsheet and say, here's offer 1, here's offer 2, here's offer 3 with all the key terms. I don't even let them see the offers, because they don't need to know the names on it. They don't need to be making decisions based on whose last name is on
What
the
they
contract.
look like, yeah.
Here's the terms, here's what you net, here's the closing date, here's the due diligence, here's the earnest money. Which one do you like best? Offer 1, 2, or 3?
What's the time frame from when you get one to when you have to turn around and deliver it? Like, it would take a few minutes to put that together, right? A couple hours, whatever. Is there a
So all offers should be presented immediately or as soon as possible, but if I have a multiple offer situation and maybe I'm taking all offers by
maybe within a
5
few
o'clock,
hours?
yeah, it'll take me a little bit to put that together. By 6 or 7, we could have that conversation. Good questions. Guys, that's your first break. Go get some oxygen, hit the